I'm Adam Teichman.
And I'm Ariel Benarroch, and we are
Cinema Devices.
Adam started the company in 2016, essentially to give low-budget filmmakers the kind of shots you could only do on a huge movie.
Right.
What was your first invention, Adam?
Well, the first invention was the AntigravityCam, and it gives you the ability to move a camera through space on a gimbal or handheld. But the whole purpose was to be able to give independent productions the ability to get shots that really nobody else could get, and that kind of budget limitation, time limitation. And what ended up happening is a lot of the A-list features started using it because of the access they could get to tight spaces, the speed at which they could get shots, how fluid it is. And so it's been on a number of big shows since then. It's been on Disney Star Wars, Obi-Wan, a number of their things, A Star is Born, recently on Bullet Train. So a lot of our stuff has made it into the A-list movies. But philosophically, what we're always doing is looking for things that are missing from the industry, that are things that one of the biggest issues is just the weight of the camera on the operator's shoulders. It was causing tremendous injury. We collaborated with Jesse Feldman, and we created an ErgoRig, which is a weight displacement device. We've had other collaborations with Charles Pappert to create the ZEEGEE, which is over here. I don't know if you can see it, but this was recently on the series The Last of Us, and it's a whole new way to move a camera to give a handheld look that's very stabilized, but gives you all the good parts of handheld and a lot more without all the shake. And
we're also introducing the Exo Boom at the show,
yeah.
Winner of the 2022 Hollywood Sound Expo Most Useful Award. And that was on the prototype, so we actually have the production model that we're showing at the show, and you'll get to see that a little later.
Yeah,
the cool thing is we have on the anti-gravity, which I'd love for you to talk a little more about, floor-to-ceiling moves. It's almost like having a jib and a Steadicam in one. It's incredibly versatile. You can go have a very stable handheld look with it, or you can have basically a mini techno crane that you can put anywhere and work at a fraction of the time.
Yeah, it does feel like a mini techno crane on 2 feet. Over here you have Trevor. So the ability to scrape the floor, get these very, very precise moves, and then move up to 3 feet over the top of the head of the operator is a new freedom that filmmakers don't really have. There's been one-er shots that have been, even when used in Star is Born, that would follow an actor out of a car, come up overhead under a low garage, things like that. Shots that are really hard to get, that are very, very accessible. And the director no longer has to think in a box of, well, I only have this range to work with if we're going to make lunch.
Yeah.
And the reality is you can get that shot, you can get all these different things, and the crew gets to sometimes even go home early because of the time it takes to get these beautiful shots that can either be operated dual with wheels, which are very, very precise, long optics, or we can have single operators operating on a joystick where they're responsible for the framing as well as the camera movement, much similar to a Steadicam operator.
One of the things that's been a challenge in the industry is gimbals are great, gimbals are fun, you can create a whole bunch of stuff, but if you're working with any longer shots, they become very difficult to hold. And some of the other systems out there have very limited range, or you can operate them great if you're just standing still, but not if you're doing trying to get really crazy or along short to high, high to short, and everything in between.
And I think we're really the only system that really isolates the footsteps off a gimbal beautifully combined with that range. So a lot of times people will mistake this for a dolly.
That's because of Adam's patented design here, which this will take any force. So you can have an operator literally running, holding a Ronin in front of him with one hand, and you can see the camera should be doing this, but it's super steady, and nothing else does that. Nothing else does that.
Yeah, and it's 30 rollers. And if you can see what Trevor's doing, he's doing a dance, but the camera doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Here, hold the camera up a little higher. Now, if I do this, see that how I'm doing this? Just hold still a second. The camera doesn't know I'm doing this. These can shake violently, and the camera just pretty much sits still. And that has to do with the double isolation systems that we have. So none of that
that's good.
None of that translates into the shot. If you see his legs moving, it really doesn't translate. And as he moves, and he does that a lot, I don't know why.
In front of him, so you can see it like the range from right below and then all the way on top.
There you go. And you can do that pretty much in a straight path, which is really, really useful. There's not a big arc from an arm.
Go back down.
There's other cool, more expensive systems that will have the range, but they won't do it without the arc on a body-mounted system.
And they also have a lot of counterweight on it because of the range, and this has no counterweights. It's 100% counter forces. So the operator can wear this for a much longer period of time. Not to mention the other thing is because it's a gimbal, you can get much longer lenses and do very, very precise moves with those longer optics than you would probably be comfortable using on the pendulum devices.
And possibly the greatest thing about it is it makes your Instagram look bad. So the AntigravityCam is our first baby. We obviously love it, but some people are Steadicam operators, and Steadicam does one thing really great, and that's Steadicam. If you're trying to add any other kinetic energy, or if you're trying to do handheld while saving your operator's body and having a range of motion, there was nothing in the landscape that could do that.
Right.
So with the help of Charles Peppard, what'd you guys invent?
Well, yeah, Charles brought this idea. He had done an original prototype. He's an OG Steadicam op, as many people know. And this is a system developed by him, and I designed and engineered it with him. And this is something that gives you the ability to take all the footsteps out, give you a boom range, get low, get high, and Adeshola doesn't come with it, but he's a great asset to it. And you can see what kind of range he has. You can go over top of tables, but he can also whip pan. He can get very kinetic shots. And when you move around with this, it has an unmistakable handheld feel. Has an unmistakable handheld feel. Okay.
So are you saying that even though this is on a Steadicam arm, it's undeniably handheld?
Yeah, it has. In other words, what the Steadicam arm does gives you all the attributes of the arm, which is the footstep isolation and the boom range, but you have all the angular feel of handheld. It isolates the motion from the arm, but it also introduces it from the operator's will. So this is where you have the narrative feel, the voyeuristic feel, without all of the negative parts, and the director and producer never have to say, could you make it slightly less handheld? But we still want handheld.
And recently, this has been used extensively on Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the problem this solves, like a lot of the Rebel stuff, is all handheld look. But what if you're trying to get Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is up here, and then you're trying to get an Ewok who's here, which I don't actually think was going to be, but was in the show, but you actually could do it. And you can move from one to the other. The operator can walk and talk with, say, Darth Vader at a very tall height or with someone short, as opposed to trying to put apple boxes or whatever just to make it happen. And again, undeniably handheld, all the weight off of the body. So that was one recent example. Another one, this was also used extensively on The Last of Us. This was mostly the 8-camera thing. Same thing, young girl, older man, and you're doing a lot of this stuff, and you can move a lot more quickly and save the operators back all day.
Yeah. So so it was very exciting. There was one episode where they almost wanted to shoot studio, and when Neil Bryant, who's a brilliant operator, demoed this for them. It was the perfect mix of the smoothness, the stabilization, and the voyeuristic feel that they wanted for the show. So it is like a really amazing hybrid and a great storytelling tool. And and more people are starting to discover this now.
Another thing that's fantastic about the ZEEGEE, often a director will want handheld, but when they start seeing what the handheld looks like, say there's movement or whatever, not too handheld, or if you're trying to do handheld with a longer lens, that's extremely challenging.
Right.
Because it'll do this, and when you're watching it, you're going to want to have a bucket for it. Now, with the ZEEGEE, you can actually dial in how handheld you want it. If you want the 80s AT&T commercial look, that's for those of you who are a little older. Now, the AT&T was more subtle. You can. If you want more frantic, you can. There was a big budget TV show that shot in New York that I'm not allowed to mention. It was a heist show. And imagine you have people running after other people, a chase sequence, and it's all handheld. But you can actually run after them and control how much of a shake of movement you get.
Yeah.
Fantastic kinetic energy on a Steadicam, not the learning curve of a Steadicam arm, but it's very versatile, and you can also use it. Hi, goodbye. That was a wipe. That would be great if we used that to cut between one section and another. Anyway. And besides having the ZEEGEE on a Steadicam arm, it also has hard mount applications. So you can put it on a dolly, you can put it underslung on a jib. It's incredibly versatile. You can put it on a hi-hat.
Right, the cradle can be on the top, and the camera can scrape the floor, or a tabletop. So the lowest thing could be the bottom of the camera, and then all the mechanism that does the roll is on the top, and that is what we call undersling. Can be off a shock cord, a bungee, could be hard mounted to a jib, could be on the bottom of a Steadicam arm on a Garfield mount. So it's a very, very versatile system.
You can also have it like on a 30-foot high roller, where you're still operating handheld at a very big height, but the operator is safe because the camera is not dependent on the operator's body, and he can have smoother or more kinetic look to the shot.
And the base does fit on any 5/8 pin. It can fit on any light stand, any C-stand, on a hi-hat. So it's a very, very versatile tool to be able to mount to anything you have on the set.
Also, very sexy on the Instagram. Go right to the lens. Show them how. Oh yeah, right into. Oh yeah, into the lens to lens. Oh, little lens to lens love. Oh my God. So that's another one of our fantastic products. I'd love to have us be able to go into other booths to show solutions for camera operators, handheld camera operators, and our newest product,
right,
the Exo Boom, for boom operators.
Also, my coffee's in that booth. So
the coffee's in the other booth.
Yeah,
okay,
so
this is important. Let's go.